first and foremost, welcome to our first session of the Educate and Elevate Workshop virtual series. It's been a while since we've had one of these, so I am super excited for us to talk about first semester blues. If you have no earthly idea who my name is Kiera Potts, and I am the president of the Potts Foundation, and it is an honor to host and have this conversation with you all today. We are going to take a brief moment to go through our panelists and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we'll get things kicked off and started. Whoever wants to go first, unless you want me to pick.
I'll go. Hey everyone, my name is Cassie Shropshire. I am a licensed professional counselor and owner of Save It for Therapy.
Hi, my name is Tim McLean. I am an Army veteran, retired Army civilian as well. I'm a life coach, certified International Coach Federation, and I own Mindful Self with Timothy McLean, LLC.
Yeah. And my name is James Caldwell. I currently work at A Touch of Peace Counseling Services, as well as I am a school-based therapist at Oakwood Adventist Academy.
Awesome. Thank you all. So ultimately, the purpose of these conversations, the entire scope of the Educate and Elevate Workshop series, is to give information to college students, graduate students, and graduating high school seniors, information that I feel I did not have in those different matriculations of life. One of the things that never crossed my mind was having a conversation on anything mental health related, which is what brought us here today. So we are going to go through a series of different topics that typically not only affect incoming freshmen. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about are geared towards that, but there are other things that we are going to discuss that's not just that. It's college students as a whole, and helping you and giving you tools to help navigate the different stages of life when you go to college, when you graduate from college, managing different transitions. And so the first question, I won't get things started too crazy. The first question that I want to ask is, how does one create structure in an academic environment when you are transitioning from your parents' surveillance and them waking you up in the morning, making sure you get your homework done, to being on your own? There's nobody there to manage what that day-to-day looks like but you, your time management. What would be some things that you would say to help them better manage that if they're having a hard time?
Which one of us is going to go first?
I always believe in ladies first, but I know we're not going to do that. So,
Because when I think about time management for myself in college, I was just excited to be out on my own as an adult. So I felt like I had this newfound responsibility to be in control of managing my time. So I think it's just very important that you realize what your priorities are first and foremost, which is being a student. So, understanding what your schedule is going to be, knowing what time you need to lay down at night so you can get up on time, giving yourself breaks when you need them to make sure that you are equipped to be the student that you desire to be.
To that, I've also worked at the college level. What I've learned from many of the students, including myself, once I got to college or other students who got to college, it wasn't just now I'm a college student. I have freedom from home. And so I get to do whatever I want to, whenever I want to. I don't have to get up early in the morning, but coming to a point of realization of why you are here. What is the purpose? What goals do we have in mind? Once we set that aim, we can begin to direct our lives. We begin to plan for it. And sometimes it takes some time to adjust to that away from home experience. Hopefully, someone would listen to this and recognize that if you don't do what you need to do in the beginning of the first semester, you're compromising your GPA for the rest of the 3 to 4 years that you'll be there. And so begin to look at why you're there and begin to plan accordingly.
Yeah, I love that, especially the word purpose. That's what I go by in my coaching thing. Why are we doing this? Why are you doing this? So again, it's important that you determine your purpose, and that's for that 4 or 5 years for you to get what you're really going for. I actually have a son, the 17, he's a senior, and I'm going through it now. And what me and his mom is doing to start doing some of those foundations right now. What time is bedtime? Where's your homework? Okay, you got a debit card, right? You're trying to teach you how to use that. You're driving. I'm on the passenger side, but you're driving to high school back and forth. So those things, including what everybody said, that's kind of what I feel as well.
That's a really good point. One thing that I forgot to mention at the start of this is that this conversation is not just for the students, it's for the parents too, because a lot of times we helicopter so much that you set them up for failure, and they're not able to learn how to establish their independence because they weren't taught those things that you're talking about, Tim, before they left home. And so if there are any parents listening or watching, please take that into consideration too, that the things that you don't do and the foundation that you don't set before they leave, if they flunk out of college because they're partying too much, they're to blame. But it might be your money at risk too, because you didn't teach those foundational skills before they left, and we didn't establish that independence, and that's not something that we want. So next question, me. I left to go to Alabama A&M in 2008, right? My mama brought me up here. We unpacked, we got my room ready. We'll say by October, November, my mom will have to correct me, I was ready to go home. I don't remember what happened and why. I guess I just got homesick, but through my first semester, 2 or 3 months in, I was ready to skedaddle. So what are some some coping skills and some things that a student could do to help being homesick? Because you have kids like me who could have drove 3.5 hours down the road to get back home, but then you have the kids that have to book a flight or have to go overseas because they're a international student that may be homesick, but it's not as easy for them to just get back home. So what are some recommendations that you have for students who are suffering from homesickness? And let's see, we're in what, September, mid-September? There's somebody somewhere who already wants to go.
Well, ship them away for 10 hours so they can't just get home easily.
Yep, there you go.
But on a serious tip, trying to help the student, or as a student, get involved in some of the activities on the campus and not just the student themselves take an initiative, but the school, as well as those who are listening, who are in position to try to help mentor and to guide, can also have other people who join. Connections is everything. And so you have upperclassmen that could come in and take a younger man underneath or young lady underneath their wings and begin to show them the school and the different activities and get them meshed in the culture that is there. Once that starts to happen, the homesick feeling, begins to fade somewhat. Nothing's like your own bathroom, your own refrigerator, your own bed. It's going to come up, but those connections help you to adjust better to your environment and help that growing period to adjust so you can get better with homesickness.
And I would follow up and say, make your space as comfortable as you would want it to be. Like some of the things that you cherish at home, some of the trinkets or decorations that you have at home in your bedroom, bring them with you to make it feel a little bit about home, like home. Also, 2007, 2008, Facebook was just becoming a thing. But these kids today, you guys have access to all of the social media. So it's a lot easier to stay connected with friends back home and family back home. My sister, for instance, right now, she lives in Korea. And so we do a family FaceTime weekly. And that's really helpful for her because she's able to see us all at one time. So just being intentional about, reaching back and managing some of the relationships back home, but still also being very intentional to allow yourself to be immersed in the new culture that you're a part of.
And I would add that with our child, again, we want to make sure he always got a phone. We want to make sure he's connected. He can call us if something goes down or if he feels nervous or whatnot. We want him to stay independent as we build that. But it's nothing but a 2 or 3 hour drive if we need to, if some crisis. But at the same time, we want to teach them that independence. Same as I went to the military, I was scared out of my wits, right? But I had the word again, purpose. I'm not quitting. So we got to speak that into them as well, that you got to do what you got to do.
And I add this also, it's not just the students who get homesick, parents miss their children. And oftentimes when a child hints, I'm ready to come home, some parents say, well, come on. Some parents to turn that around and say, no, you need to stay.
Hmm.
This phase will go away and it will get better in time, but you need to stay, fix the position that you are, endure it, get involved, encourage the student, begin to take part of the different activities with different people that are there, and help them to be encouraged in those moments that they're having a tough time.
And I left out one thing too that I think is important too, is build relationships. You may not know anybody there. So just be you, be authentic, be aware of your surroundings and all the good stuff, but pick good friends, just take the first step.
Yes, all of these are very valid points, because in my homesickness, my mama said, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but you can't come home.
Lock that door, close it. Yeah.
She's like, you can transfer somewhere else, but you're still going to school. Coming home is not really an option. So you can either figure it out or you can figure it out. Like that's all I had. So I figured it out. I got over it. It was fine. But Cassie, go ahead. You were getting ready to say something.
If you are a helicopter parent, your child can feel your stress. So if you are very anxious about them being gone and you're calling all the time, that adds to their anxiety. So be very mindful of that. My freshman year, my mother called every morning to wake me up, which was so annoying to my roommate, because at the time we still had our phone on loud. So it was the same ringtone every day for my mom, and my roommate was so mad at me. And it was hard for me to just break away from wanting to go back home because I had that. So, parents realize that this is the time for your child to figure out who they are. So allow them the space to do that.
And one last thing I want to say, and I'm sorry to keep, belaboring the point, but I had a parent that's all she had was her son. She had no one else in her life. And when she dropped him off at college, she sat in my office and cried for 2 hours. She did not want to leave. She was hurt. She's like, I'm losing my baby. I don't know what's going to happen to him. I can't protect him. I was reassuring her about her 19-year-old boy at the time, that he's going to be okay. We're going to be by his side. We're going to help guide him, et cetera, et cetera. But you have to learn to let go. And it was very difficult because it was no one else in her life. She kept saying, it was just been us for the last 18, 19 years. And I get that. And so sometimes we have to begin to face the reality that, the nest has to be empty for them to grow to be the men and women they need to be. And that's the whole point. So they're no longer just my baby. They are a man, they're becoming a man, and they're becoming a woman. And I have to put things in place to make sure that's what they become.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
If I could, just 1 second again. If it's not college, it's military, or it's just going away for a job.
Yes.
You got to let them do what you did. How do we all on this meeting right here get to be where we're at? We left.
Yes.
We okay. So let's give them that let's do this.
Yes, sir.
That's so valid. And so a couple of things that you guys pointed on kind of leads us and segues us into our next question. And that is, some people have social anxiety and some people have a very hard time making connections to people that, for me, I grew up in a small town. The people that I went to school with, I literally knew all of my life. We went to elementary school, middle school, and high school together. There was no change. There was zero change. So me making the decision to leave to go to college was the biggest disruption of my everyday life that I could have made. And as a result, my relationships back home suffered. We didn't have the technology that we have now. We couldn't really keep up with people the same. I lost a friendship because she told me that I wasn't available and I couldn't answer the phone when she called, or I forgot to call her back. But I was so immersed in my environment and there was so much going on, I didn't know how to manage both things at the time. And so what are some recommendations for connecting with and building new relationships, maintaining old connections and relationships? How do you know when to walk away?
I'll go first again. I go back to the word purpose. What is your purpose? Your purpose is to be here, and you're gonna be nervous about it. Like if you did basketball, you scared the first time you played football game, all that good stuff. You're nervous and you're scared about what's coming up. So I think it's good to know your purpose, right? You can be the first one to speak up. You see somebody and like, hey, how you doing? You know, and before you know it, y'all could be like best friends forever just because you said, hey, how you doing? Because you know how the nerds are set over here and the jocks over there, whatever. You know, what if a jock came and sat beside me? I'd like, oh, thank you. Hey, how you doing? You're my best friend in the whole wide world. And you never know what one conversation would do. So that's my main thing. I would teach Timothy how to be more open and be more forward. Over. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Cassie.
Okay, so I would say, find your people. What are your interests? You know, flock towards those people. If you're interested in dance, you know, go connect with the dance team. If you are a gamer, see if there's some type of club on campus that is for gamers. I think that's the easiest way to find like-minded people. Especially when you're new and you don't know who's there. Thankfully, on a lot of college campuses, you know, the freshmen get to come in early, they get to connect with their roommate, their suite mates. So you do have a little small group and a couple people that you're able to meet with and connect with very early on. So that's nice to have that support. But I'm always thinking about, you know, what do I like, and then knowing what kind of people you want to be around, because you know who you hang with is very influential. So you know what is your character? Seek out those people.
I want to add, your question triggered something in me that I learned in my own personal life as well as has dealt with other students. And that is sometimes you outgrow the people that you grew up with. And that's sometimes can be a difficult thing to maneuver and to manage because your friends that you've known all your life are saying, well, so you think you're better than me now, huh? That kind of mentality. And the truth is that you have outgrown them. If they are not growing and you're going to outgrow them. And it's not intentional that you're trying to leave them behind, but you have already. And you find them stuck in the world that you left behind, whatever that world was, and you're still growing. And they're looking at you like, I don't even know you anymore. Truth is, they don't. You have changed, and you will continue to change and continue to evolve into whatever you're destined for, which is, of course, greatness, if you recognize it for what it is. And so sometimes you have to make a hard decision and leave them behind because you can't grow together if you go in two different ways. Either you're going to begin to regress or find yourself dumbing yourself down to accommodate those persons, and you're going to feel less than. It's not going to help you and motivate you. But then some of those friends, despite of them going to college or becoming an entrepreneur, they still are intelligent and strong people that you can still vibe with, you can still spend time with, you can still feed off of because they are that strong individual. No matter what the odds, no matter what the situation, they're still growing in their own right. And so you can recognize the relationship as something that's valuable, as something that's needed, and that you can also not just add to, but also grow from. And those you want to maintain and keep, but you have to know the difference between the two.
Let's talk about that a little bit more because outgrowing friendships happen at every phase in life.
Yeah.
You may enter into your freshman year and you start with one group of friends. Happened to me. By the time I graduated, the people that I was friends with my freshman year was no longer a thing. And so when that's happening in real time, it makes you question yourself and struggle with some things internally that maybe you don't know how to deal with. Maybe it can cause some issues with your self-confidence. Maybe it can cause some issues with your identity. So how do you navigate that?
Well, what I find is you are developing a new identity. You have to recognize the person or the difference between the person you were to the person you now are. And once you not just recognize that person, accept that person, then once you accept it, you can now navigate where you want to go from there and how everything else fits in that piece of the pie or the piece of the puzzle, so to speak. And so once you get that and accept it, you can move on. That's the best way to begin to navigate those waters.
Absolutely. I would agree. Acceptance is a good word to have right there. Because everybody can't go. And that's one thing I think we need to talk about more with our youth is that just because this person has been your friend for 16 years, you meet this new person for 6 months and it's like they've been in your life the whole time. And that's okay. There's no love lost, there's no memories lost. It's just that I'm in a different space now. And I wish you well. And if anything, if you have anything to celebrate, I'm celebrating for you. It's just the relationship dynamics have changed, and that is okay.
Yeah, I would add again, persona, right? Fake it till you make it is what the military says all the time, right? So you're not a college student, now you are one. So now you got to learn how to walk into that with your affirmations. If I can believe this, my parents got me here, or I got myself here. I'm not gonna let one friendship go because again, if you're growing out, you want to bring everybody with you, but reality knows that you can't do that. And what I learned in my travels in the military, being in like 10 different places, 3 different countries, all that good stuff, I can't take everybody with me that's my friend. Well, I love you to death, but Army says you go this way, or your career says you go that way. Guess what? You're going that way. So, but your phone call away now, you're FaceTime away, but you still got to do what's most important for you. One thing I say all the time is that learn to put your mask on first, and that you're breathing your own air.
Totally.
Right?
I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When I went back home after, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I saw a guy that I've known for most of my life. Now, I grew up in the hood in Baltimore, Maryland. If anybody know about Baltimore, it's crazy. But and when I came back, I was dealing with this same brother that I grew up with. I thought to myself as he was talking to me, because he was talking down to me, because I was the incompetent one when we were kids. I was the less intelligent one when we were kids. I was the poor kid, suffering from self-esteem, but I rose up out of it, those issues that I was, dealing with because of abuse and stuff in my home. I was no longer the abuse in the little boy anymore that was traumatized. Now I'm a man and I know who I am and I know whose I am. Talking about spiritual stuff now, but and I no longer was troubled by or intimidated by anything or anyone else anymore. And here he's talking to me, and I'm looking at him, thinking to myself, as he's talking to me, I have outgrown you. And you're still playing these games that we used to play when we were children. I didn't waste my time trying to confront him about those issues. I said, okay, we won't have too many conversations like this anymore, because I realized where I was and where I left him. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's it's important to realize the quality of the people that you have around you over the quantity. And
Yes.
it's also in
You froze up on us?
if you
Yes.
leave a conversation feeling less than, there's a problem with that. So that's a really all valid points, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that just with work. So yes. We have a question in the comments, but before we get to that, because we've been talking about friendships and navigating those relationships, it brings me to a thing of grieving. You can grieve a lost loved one, a lost friend, a lost relationship, a lost opportunity, a lost job. There are a lot of different things and a lot of different stages of grief depending on what that thing is. And so when we talk about relationship management and when we talk about the separation of friends based on where you are and where they are, what are some coping skills or some tips that you would give to deal with grieving, to deal with loss? And it can be the loss of a person that's no longer here. It can be the loss of a friendship that's no longer here. How do you, because sometimes any form of grief can literally shake your life and completely wreck everything that you thought you were going to do, and it totally sets you off course.
I'll go first on this one. I've seen this on a number of occasions, and I want to put this in perspective that oftentimes our parents are to blame for this. And the reason why I say that is because we cuddle our children. We protect them from so much, you know, even from falling down and hurting a knee. Oh, come here, baby, it's going to be okay. And when a teacher or someone begins to try to guide this child and hold them accountable, oftentimes a parent will swoop in and try to protect them from the harshness of doing the work. And even emotional damage, we try to protect them rather than allowing the butterfly effect to take place. And so they are in this cocoon called life, and life happens. And when they are off to college, they have to deal with it on their own, oftentimes. And it's difficult because they never learned the life lessons that they should have learned as children and adolescents. Now they're in college and they're disappointed. Now I met a young man who drank bleach, because his girlfriend broke up with him. He had no other recourse and coping skill other than think, I have to have her in my life, and I would threaten her to get back with me by drinking bleach. If you don't get with me, I'm gonna drink this bleach. And he drank the bleach. And now he's sitting in the psych ward, said, I'm ready to go back to class now. Really? You didn't see that this was a problem? No. And not knowing, and another student who tried to commit suicide because he failed a class. Now, these things on the total pole of seriousness, on the grand scale of things that really matter in our lives, you know, I could say for them, it was enormous. But as you look at it realistically, their emotional maturity was so small that no matter what comes in their lives, it's going to break them down because they have no coping skills. They don't know how to measure that. They don't know how to deal with it. But by teaching them, the number one, what in the grand scale of things, what really matters? Your life matters. Why are you trying to take your life because you failed a class? You can always go back to pass the class. He or she that you were dealing with that may have hurt your feelings because they broke up with you. There are more fish in the sea, brother. There's more fish in the sea, sister. You know, plus you don't know what kind of hell they was going to bring in your life anyway. You better thank God that you was able to get past that because you don't know what that meant. And so learning what it's really about behind the story rather than what you're seeing first and what you're feeling first, and also knowing that this will pass. It will get better. Because when you lose a loved one, whether it's death or otherwise, at that moment, it feels like that hurt is never going to go away. And that's the thing you want to escape, but recognizing that it can and it will pass.
I will also say too, a lot of when you mentioned parents coddling their children, a lot of parents try to keep their children seeing them from struggling and, keep their children from seeing them crying and upset and hurt. And so when things happen in life, kids don't know how to handle it because they've never seen it because they've been protected from it. So being open about your emotions and sharing them with them real life situations. I know there's some things you just don't want your kids knowing, but it starts at home, and the best place to learn life lessons really is at home. So being able to talk to your children about how to respond to situations, and it's okay to have emotions, and learning how to sit in those emotions and cope. Also, I would say too is that there's so many things that we can grieve from, but first and foremost, we have to understand that it is grief. You know, sometimes we're just like, oh, it's just life, it happens. No, transitioning from a home where you felt safe and secure, and then moving onto a college campus where you don't know anybody, you get to grieve not being at home. You get to grieve that transition and starting new. So being able to recognize, one, that it is grief, and then two, being okay with sharing with somebody, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and this is why I'm feeling that way. Not feeling like you can't talk about it or express it, you know, being able to find that trusted person, example, a counselor or therapist that's on campus, to share with them, you know, this is how I'm feeling and I don't know how to deal with it. And having that person help you navigate that situation.
For me, it boils down to, this is my life. Why sacrifice my life because I made a bad grade, boyfriend, girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. We got to get that understanding that, again, it's about life, it's final. I'll mention I have a book. One of the things I have in there, you were blessed to have been born a human being versus amoeba, one cell organism, right? A frog, a plant, or whatever, right? You've been gifted that. And to throw it away because you didn't learn something over here or learn something over there, we just ask you to really think about that, because life is, you want to live a long and prosperous life, but every little thing is not that big of a deal. My mom passed, I got down here in the Alabama area in January of 2019. My brother, oldest brother, passed away 2 November, and my mom 24 November. I have yet to be balling on the floor. And one of the main reasons why, because I believe. And then adding to that they had a great life. They had a great life. And then I'm proud of my mom from where she started, what she poured into all 8 of us. Right? So if all this happiness and all this things she's done, why let 1 or 2 little things that wasn't perfect, getting fired from a job, your car stopped working, you ride on the hoopty, your friend got a Mercedes or something? That's small stuff. To me, that's small stuff. But just stay focused on your path, what you want, and you can shift that path anytime you want to. You're not stuck in, I'm going to be an accountant or whatever. It's up to you.
I don't want to go too deep into this, so I'm going to take a beat here. One of the things that I've forgotten to mention throughout this whole call is that if you are watching on live on Facebook, feel free to hit that share button and share it with your family and your friends, because I feel that this is a conversation that we need to have more of, that we don't have it enough. We don't have it enough. There are a lot of things that students struggle with, and those students and those children struggling with those things, it turns into adult problems. And we can be sitting here at 34, at 35, in our 40s, dealing with the things that we didn't deal with as a 12-year-old. And so the conversation is a lot bigger than this. And so before we dive too deeply into that topic, trying to figure out how to segue into this so that we don't. There are a mountain of things that we can discuss as it pertains to grief, as it pertains to anxiety, as it pertains to depression. Those are all very real things, and they affect people differently. There are some things that I may view as small that is a huge, big emotion for somebody else. And a lot of that stuff, for some people, not for all, is a matter of perspective. But I had to get to a point to where if something happened, then my world didn't end. And one of the things that I had to do to get there would be, and when I first started to go to therapy, it was something that I was ashamed of. I remember having a conversation, I think with my dad, and I told him that I was going, and he's like, why? And I'm like, because there's a pattern in my life that is causing some discourse that needs to be fixed. I don't know what the root of it is, and I need help getting there. And so but this was after I graduated from college. It was not during that process. And so what are some things that parents can do if they are noticing that their children are lacking in emotional maturity to assess their mental health? Because I feel like that's something that's super important, especially before they go off to college. 9 times out of 10, some, don't get me wrong, there are some things that are going to display when you get into the thick of things when you're at school. But there are also some behaviors that were shown and that need to be recognized before they left that house. And so what are some things that parents can do to recognize and assess their child's mental health and their social skills, if we want to go there too?
I think that's a great question, but what happens when you don't have parents who are able to assess that or recognize that their children have mental health issues because they're in denial that they have mental health issues, and they say, well, why do you want to go to therapy? So I think it's important that we create spaces like this where we have open conversations where we can talk real talk about mental health and why it's important that we're all looking at our mental health, not just kids, but parents too, because let's be honest, a lot of kids are affected because their parents refuse to get help. So it's just being, for me personally, it's being able to create safe spaces where our community especially can just come and share how we're really feeling and know it's okay. You know, there's so much stigma attached to mental health, and as a community, we God first, God, we pray about it and that's it. And I love me some Jesus,
Mm,
but also know that there's some things that I have to talk through, and I need somebody that is a professional to help me out with. And so knowing that it's okay to get help, like there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to be ashamed, because as humans, we are all flawed. We are all going to have experiences that are uncomfortable, but it's not the end of the world. We have to realize that. And then that's when we can start navigating and changing our perspective when things come up.
I'll keep it
Great
very
answer.
simple on this one. Is life is short, as I mentioned before. Just slow down a little bit, enjoy life the best you can. If something doesn't seem right, go ask for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. We were conditioned that, like we said earlier, oh, go, 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 go. Life is more precious than that. There's so many stuff going on now, the technology. Now we're flying commercials up to the space, up to the moon and stuff, nearby orbit. So again, there's so many things that's going on. And I just think we have to slow down a little bit. Don't take it so seriously. Understand what's going on. And again, this help. I've had help myself. I have therapy as well, right? And it helps me, right? So how can I coach somebody if I have things? Because I've been there and done that. Because I understand to get over that guilt or, oh, I'm so and so. You can't. No, we way past that. You are breathing your own air. Breathe the best quality of air that you can.
So, and platforms like these is everything to our communities. People knowing that it's okay, hearing that it's okay, seeing people who actually are going through therapy and knowing I'm not by myself. It kind of puts the myth away that I'm crazy if I go.
Mhm.
We are not crazy, but all of us need somebody to help us to navigate these waters called life. Life is difficult enough. And then if you have issues that come about because of trauma, or because like Cassie said earlier about our parents who needed some help themselves but refused to recognize they needed help, and they carried us through that as well. It happens on all ends. And so we're attacked and don't even know we're being attacked. We don't even know we're in a war sometimes for our own sanity.
Mhm.
And to get someone that says, I remember someone who said, I was reading the other day and I realized I have an issue. Education did that,
Yeah.
and it had nothing to do with therapy. It had to do with Star Trek. But someone used the platform of Star Trek to talk about mental awareness, and the needs. And it clicked something in his head to the point he recognized we had this issue that they were talking about on this program. And he brought it to my attention. And he said, that's why I started coming here, because I recognized how the problem. These platforms is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said the other day on one of my Facebook statuses that the person that you see today that is able to go through and handle and juggle all these things is a result of therapy. It's nothing that I've done. I love the Lord too, but at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I still needed to talk through some things and be practical in my everyday life. There were some lessons that I needed help walking through that required the work, the practicality to get better. And so that's something I want to make sure that we hit on. One of the questions that's in the chat it says that, well, it's asking essentially, would you recommend parents getting a counselor or a life coach before going off to college? If you're, regardless of whether or not your child is struggling with something or not, because let me preface this statement with this. We all have some type of trauma that we carry, whether we recognize it or not. And so with that trauma, because there are a lot of kids who do not talk to their parents, would you recommend if they have a parent that is emotionally mature enough to put them in a position of therapy and counseling or a life coach, would that be something that you recommend?
Keep it simple,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yes, without a doubt.
It's
And
one
I
of
want
those-
to add something that you kind of touched on.
Okay.
And I've served as a pastor also in this
I can
community for over 20 years.
I can say that.
And so what I realize is some of us try to spiritualize everything away as if, those things don't matter or God is going to take care of it all. In fact, in some religious cultures, people don't believe in modern medicine that will heal the body, will heal the mind. If God can't heal it, you don't have enough faith. You're not believing enough. You're not praying hard enough. And some religious cults and sects and Christian beliefs, et cetera, and everyone has entitled to their own beliefs and the way they manage their lives, and that's fine and good. But there's this side that as if this is evil when you get medication and or see a therapist, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's practicality. And my personal belief for many of us is that it takes God and a therapist to help us get through some of the stuff that we've been through.
Takes both. God and therapy.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. And it takes both.
Yeah.
Cassie, you have something?
My slogan is God is the source, but he gives us resources. And I stick to that. I believe it. He will always be number one, but he gives us daily resources that we are able to cling to get the help we need. And we always talk about our physical health. If we're diagnosed with diabetes, guess what? We're going to get the insulin. If something is off with our
Right.
need to go to therapy.
So because you
Mhm.
said that too, I want to make sure that everybody understands that your wellness, your well-being as a person is your physical health, your mental health, spiritual health, your financial health, your occupational health. Am I missing one?
I think you touched on all of them.
All five.
Mhm.
All five go together to make the world go around. This is my therapy at work. So this
Oh,
is
look
just
at
proof.
We see you, we see you, we see you.
This is just proof. So if nothing else, I am a living, breathing example of practicality and the
Yeah.
Lord. Just
And that's not to say that God can't do it all.
he
Right,
And
can't
I'll
we
leave
do the
it there.
work.
allowing, yeah.
Do the work.
Right.
One of the comments. Go ahead.
Just real quick, I'll just say that, could your friend be your therapist? Not certified,
No.
but if they know you enough, if they know, not necessarily a therapist, somebody you can lean on and talk to,
Nope.
right? No?
I have my friends who I can confide in, and there are certain situations that they can help navigate with me. But there are things that they're not certified or qualified to
Right.
do. You have
Right.
your friends and your family who can support you, who can help walk you through and navigate certain situations.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they are not qualified.
Let me
Or-
restate that. Let me restate that again. Not as a therapist, but someone to lean on, right? Instead of you go do something, or do you just stay in your same spot? A good friend may have some knowledge that you don't have, and be willing to go to that person before you do something to yourself. That's incorrect.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
It goes back to the support and having a good supporting system around you and being transparent enough with them to be able to have that. Like
Right.
you said there, like I said, there are some things that my friends can help me through. If I'm having a bad day, if I'm having a bad day, I know that I have somebody I can go talk to.
There we go. All right, thank you.
All right. One of the comments says that parents project their fears and do not understand how to listen or communicate. developing that relationship is more important than criticizing who they are becoming. I just wanted to throw that out there in case anybody needs to hear it. One of the final things we are going to hop into is bullying, harassment, sexual assault, rape, and domestic violence. All of those things can happen before you get to college. I'm gonna just throw that out there. But what happens when you are in college, you've never been exposed to anything like that, and you are faced with those struggles, because if we go through statistics, like I think a long time ago, I read that as early as 9, for some it's younger, that they are sexually assaulted or molested or raped. And the stats were like 1 in every 21, 1 out of every 21 people. And that's a lot of people that are subjected to and don't quote me on those statistics. This is just my memory. But either way, that is almost every other person that you encounter that has dealt with some type of rape, sexual assault, harassment. And we're going to talk about bullying too. So my first question is, how common is it? I think from your side of the fence, how common is it for someone to be bullied, harassed, sexually assaulted, raped, or to experience domestic violence on a college campus or while in college? Because all of these things don't happen within the vicinity of those universities or colleges, but they happen when they're exposed to people that a lot of times when they leave, sometimes when they're there. So what's your experience with that?
So I think the U.S. Department of Justice reported that 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted while they're in college, and then 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted while they're on a college campus. And it's, as always, it's very, very unfortunate. But again, it's always important to have these conversations at home, helping children understand no means no, know where you're going, don't go anywhere alone. Be careful, be mindful what you're drinking, or, don't experiment and drug, like all of these things. I think it's important that we're having these conversations with our students, because when you get on this campus, you do have all this freedom. You are able to go places and do things that you've never done before. I know, for instance, when I was a freshman in college, unfortunately with some underage drinking, somebody did not know their tolerance and ended up at HIMSI, and it was the most frightful thing for me, because I had never experienced that. And not knowing what to do, how to handle it, it was scary, and it actually just kind of made me not want to be a part of any of that, just because I wasn't prepared on how to handle it. So definitely trying to make sure your kids are well informed about the dangers of sexual assault and things that do occur on college campuses. And having that open communication to say, hey, if something happens, comes to me, because a lot of people are attacked and they won't ever talk about it because they're afraid they won't be believed. There's been instances where people shared that they were attacked and it was swept under the rug. We see that every day on college campuses. And so we definitely have to encourage, especially young women, more to come forward when it happens, and know that you will be supported.
I'll add to that, parents supporting their children when they're going through this kind of trauma is difficult enough for them to go through it alone. And then when they tell a parent, like I've seen and heard, a parent said, don't tell anybody because you were drinking, you were caught unaware. That angered me to no end. The shame that was brought to this child because of this, and no support from home, but to keep quiet because you should not have been drinking in the case. No, you need to fight for your child as well as teach her and him to fight. And it It is a known thing that's happening on all sides of the table, male and female, gang rapes, and all of these kinds of stuff is happening, and people are fulfilling dreams of this kind of stuff and feel like this is their lot in life to do this kind of trauma to people and holding people at gunpoint even. So be aware of the situations that you're placing yourself in, because sometimes it is naivety that brings us into situations we think we're okay. They're my friend. Never take it for granted that somebody's setting you up. Don't put yourself in that situation. If you have that gut feeling about it, you need to get out the car. You need to stop this car now. You need to turn around. I'm not going with you all. I'm not coming to this house. And girls set up girls just as much as guys set up girls, and guys set up guys. And so it is a tragedy that is happening in our communities nowadays in regards to the assault, the bullying, the harassments, because we do it because we can. And so being an advocate for one another, standing up and saying, no, we're not going to do that, and stop trying to fit in, but also trying to stand up for someone to protect someone else.
I would add, trust yourself. Spidey senses don't feel right. I just met you. Watch your drink. Watch your drinking. And because you're going to school to be your best you. You're going there to learn and stuff, right? There's going to be peer pressure left and right all over the place. We get it today. Hey, let's stay extra late for lunch or whatever, something simple, but you missed class or whatever, right? So again, just trust yourself. Start being more acute to it and aware of society is not all nice as we think it is when we're younger. And this stuff is real. So again, just find some good friends. Again, if they start flipping on you, turn a different direction, bye. Because I jokingly say, you should think you're the most important person in the world. Because it's you. Mm-hmm. I'm more important than my mama. She gone now, but I was more important to her. If I tell everybody, some of my sessions say breathe in, breathe out, I said, who air did you breathe? You can only breathe your own air, right? Meaning that do what's right for you. Don't follow people. You can work with them, but don't follow them. Don't worship them, right? Get your senses together, figure out if they're good or bad with you, and then just going back to the room, start studying. Get the maze.
Yeah, you said something very important, which was watch your drinking and watch your drink. There are friends that I had who were subjected to certain things because somebody put something in their drink. So just be mindful of the fact that this stuff is real life. It's not anything that any of us have never been exposed to. I can only imagine the depths of things that you guys have seen because of the positions that you hold. And so the stats that I gave are off my memory. The stats that Cassie gave were 100%, and they were even lower than what I said. And so keep in mind, because you said 1 out of 5 with women and 1 out of 16 with men. Mm-hmm. That means that almost every person that you come across has been exposed to something like that. So just keep that in mind when you are out in the world, when you be aware of your surroundings, ultimately, is really what it boils down to, because that is a real thing. Can't say that enough. We've talked about a lot, we've gone through a lot, but that is a real problem to be aware of.
It's amazing.
Oh, go ahead.
It's amazing some of the mindsets of college students. I've asked a group of young men if a girl if she's naked and she says no, what does that mean? That means go ahead. No means no. And some believe one thing when someone is saying something else, and we need to press that home, that no means no. No matter what you think and what the situation may be, she or he could be naked. That is not the point of discussion. The point is that person said no. They may have undressed themselves, but the conversation is still no. And we need to recognize when you go beyond no, that's rape, that's criminal. And you could be arrested for that. And you have now just violated another human being. And we need to press that home to so many people because they feel like, okay, so she is undressed, he's undressed. That means something. No, they have said no, they changed their mind, you know, and you need to recognize that.
Yep. And to that point, if someone is passed out, if someone is incoherent, if
Yes.
someone is just clearly displaying that they are not in their normal right mind and state of being, no is still no. And that is still rape. That is still sexual assault. That is still a violation of somebody's body. When you do these things and they are unable to speak up for themselves because of everything I just stated.
One thing I just add that again is just sound judgment. You got to have sound judgment. I don't want to get into celebrity stuff that's in the news right now. But again, that person's giving up freedom, all that hard work. For what? To beat on your chest, your freedom is gone. Allegedly. I'm saying allegedly. Okay.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But again, it's just trust yourself. Don't put yourself in harm's way. No's mean no. You breathe your own air.
And to that point, you are not untouchable. And that's
I like that. I like that. Drop the mic.
That is all. So
Drop the mic.
before we dismiss, I want to give each of you a time. We're going to go around the room. Just closing remarks. Whatever you want that to look like. The floor is yours.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. You got it.
Just to, that last topic we just talked about, remember, it's okay to change your mind. If you do find yourself in a situation and you don't want to be in it, it's okay to say, you know what, this is not for me, and it's okay to walk away. So always remember that first and foremost. And then secondly, it is okay to get help. This is why it's out here. This is why you have community. So many people are like, oh, I don't know how to ask for help. I don't know how, I don't want to get help. And I used to be that person. I used to think I had to do everything by myself, and I would struggle in silence, and all it did was make me worse. And so I had to learn to lean on my community because that's what it's for. So use your support system. That's exactly what it's for. They're there to love you, to pour into you. So make sure that you're leaning on those people. And if you don't have a support system, be intentional about creating one, because you matter. You are special. You are loved. You are valued. And your life matters at the end of the day.
I would add to students who are in college and or about to go to college, who are always asking their parents to navigate the school system for them. Talk to my teacher. Can you fill out this form? Advocate for yourself. Begin to step up and ask the questions that you need to ask. Don't call your mom and say, can you talk to them about my roommate? No, go to your dean or whoever that person is in that position and role at your school and begin to tell them the issues that you have for yourself. Now, if that person who's in power is not fulfilling their job and requirements concerning your valid need, you have a right to go above them. And if they can't handle the situation above them, then you might go to your parent and ask the question of how can I navigate this? Get the suggestion and try to deal with it on your own. And if at that point in time, if you don't talk to the president, now you might want to talk to your parent about trying to advocate for you in the position. But challenge yourself. If you're always asking your parents to do this, can you do that? Can you do this? Challenge yourself to do it on your own. And lastly, what Cassie says, look for the help. There's nothing wrong. Everybody needs somebody, and we need each other in this world. That's all I'll say.
Ooh, I love that last one. Ooh. So again, I'm a life coach. I'm big on introspection is my thing. So I got a book. It's called Mentality Switch. I believe you change your mindset, you can change the world, your world, right? Regardless of what people think about you, blah, blah, blah. Get to where you start thinking, I'm breathing my own air, not yours. I'm not trying to do any harm to nobody. And I'm there just trying to get my education so I can go help others. And it's okay to ask for help. I mentioned already, I'm getting help every 2 weeks, VA. Okay, but I'm still sane enough, squared away to go help anybody, because part of my coaching is to help you get where you want. I'm not going to tell you what you want. I'm gonna help you get where you want, right? I'm not gonna guide you, lead you.
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
get there. And that's where the growth goes into, right? Again, I know all those probably didn't start at where we're at right now. These 5 is right here in the audience. How did we get there? We probably had a couple of failures, some
Right.
embarrassing ones. And I'm gonna say TSU football scholarship 3 days gone. Didn't hold me against me. 3 years later, after working in factories, guess what? Bam.
Yeah.
Brad McLean to become an officer, blah, 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 now coach, right? So 1 or 2 failures or mistakes that's not legal, don't do nothing crazy, right? But it's legal, you're going to jail, right? But mistakes, don't home in those, don't sleep on those, don't have a nightmare. I talk to people and they talk about, I remember, I've had a conversation today. I remember when I used to drink and I used to do, you passed that. Well, look who you are right now. You're amazing. You overcome it. So don't keep diving into the past, right? Go and forget that. Persona is what I call it. I'm faking who I am till I know that that's who I am. So mentality switch, change your mindset, introspection.
And so no matter where you are watching from, of course, I thank you guys for watching. I thank you all for your time. Let us know how we can find you. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they go about doing that? And I'll start with Cassie since we started with you.
Ladies first.
So you can find me on Facebook. It's at Save It for Therapy. It's not FOR, but the number 4, Save It for Therapy. My website is www.saveitfortherapy.com. My logo is a purple couch. So if you see a purple couch, it's me. Please follow me on Instagram and Facebook. We share uplifting information. We talk about real life things, and we just want to keep people encouraged and know that it's okay to get help.
I'll go second.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna switch the order real quick. I'll go second. So my website is mindfulselfwithtimothymclain.com. It has my book in there. It has some of how you can do a free consultation with me. Again, you can order the book in a journal. Chapter 1, read it, and then do the journal. Next day, chapter 2. And I ask that you do it 6 months in a row, and your introspection should change, because it's asking you deep questions only you have. You don't share that with anybody. That's you, right? And also on Facebook page, Timothy L. McClain, and I put motivational affirmations and speak into those pretty much daily. So thank you.
And you can find me at a touch of peace services.org and reach out to me through that. I'm located in Huntsville, Alabama. A touch of peace counseling services.org.
Thank you. So somebody said we needed to have a part 2. We're going to look into that because there's just a lot. There's a lot to get through as it pertains to this topic. But from my heart of hearts, the deepest part of my heart, I thank you guys for sharing your knowledge and your expertise with us. It goes without saying that this is invaluable. And so I can only pray that this reaches the people that it needs to reach, that it helps the people that it needs to help. And thank you. You're probably going to get tired of hearing me say it, but I can't say it enough. It's honestly, thank you for pouring into us the way that you have and sharing the way that you have and being honest and transparent in those ways. And so end all be all, I just want to make sure that everybody understands. I think it was Cassie. I think it was you that said it, but it's okay to get help. It is okay. We are all human, and being human, we are all imperfect beings, which means we cannot fix it all. There's just no way for us to do everything within our own power. Even if you believe in the good Lord himself, there is no way for you to fix everything in your own power. None. You can't pray. Some things you can't pray away. Okay. So in knowing that, also understand that it's okay to reach out to find a therapist. And if you're a therapist, because Tim, you said something about this, you said that you're not going to always agree. If your therapist is too agreeing with your behavior, that is a problem. And that's all I'm going to say about that. If you feel like you are not growing from the situation, that is a problem. If nothing is changing, that is a problem. It's hard to find a good therapist. And when you find a good one or a good life coach, hold on to them because they are hard to find for a reason. But you also have to know how to look out for the bad ones. Everybody that's in a people-oriented, hands-on field that don't ever make the assumption that just because they are doing what they need to do. And that's not just as it relates to anybody within a mental health field. That's doctors, that's sometimes it's teachers. So just be mindful of all of these things so that I will get off my soapbox. When you are looking for help, is that you should feel that there are changes and transformations happening by way of what you're doing. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for volunteering your time to talk to us for this hour. I really have enjoyed the conversation so much. And have a good rest of the night.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank
No
you.
problem.